Alienate UK, the UFO Files, a new time. Mondays from 7 p.m. Don't miss it. Uncover the truth behind the sightings. Real encounters. Real evidence. Welcome to Alienate UK, the UFO Files. Subscribe now to explore the universe's greatest mysteries with us. Don't miss out. Subscribe today.
Alien 8 UK.
Welcome back. You found it again. The UFO Files. Broadcasting round the clock on Alien 8 UK. Red-eye listeners, insomniacs, sky watchers, van drivers on the long haul. You're tuned to the only station that stares back at the dark with you. 24 hours, we circle the same old questions. Lights over the north, shadows over the south. Phone lines open, headphones on, blinds half drawn. I got case notes spread like takeaway menus. Highlighters bleeding through until sunrise. Coordinates scribbled on coffee stained napkins from a truck stop somewhere near the East Coast. We don't do jump scares here, we do the long stare out the window at 3:33 a.m. when the estate's asleep and the sky feels too crowded. You call him with that voice, half whisper, half dare. First time chatter, long time watcher, and the hairs rise on every neck in frequency range. Maybe it's satellites, maybe it's stories we tell, so we're not alone in these flickering terraces and rented rooms. Either way, keep your dial right here. This is the UFO Files. Alienate UK. All night, every night, Welcome back.
Signal acquisition initiated. Cross-referencing anomaly archives. Pattern recognition complete. Aether 8 online. Proceed.
Hello. Welcome to today's show. Over to Addy.
Today, as you can see, we have a fabulous guest, Richard Monck, on, and he is a Devon-based writer and researcher experience whose work explores the strange crossroad between UFO phenomena, consciousness, and synchronicity and high strangeness. A contributor to UAPedia, a former director of photography on Ledger Sequence, Richard has also investigated anomalous phenomena alongside the Centre of Fortean Zoology. Try saying anomalous phenomena 10 times without tripping over.
No.
Known for blending first-hand experience with deep Fortean research, his current project, Cartography of High Strangeness, dives into childhood UFO encounters, reoccurring synchronicities, and the wider mysteries of the consciousness and the unknown. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Richard to the show.
Good evening, and thank you for that lovely introduction. And yeah, it is a mouthful and a half.
It is.
It's not an easy thing to do. It makes me sound really professional, and I'm not. I just falling into these things and discovering things as I go through. Life's an adventure, I think, and it's slowly being revealed to me over time that what I've assumed was one childhood UFO encounter is actually part of a wider picture. And that's what I call it, the cartography of high strangeness. I should call it something more simple, map. But essentially, I feel as though it's something that's kind of I'm following a path, shall we say? And when I'm on the right path, it feels like I'm going the right way. And I've been down some wrong paths in my time and had to come back on myself and find out where I am. So here I am. So yeah, I can tell you what I've been up to if you wish. Or
Yeah. What have you been up to since we
Please.
saw you in February? Because I first met you in Dartmoor, didn't I, when we were filming for Legend Seekers?
Yeah.
And that was a strange and freaky night on the moors, followed by some pretty severe weather came in. But yeah, and then we met up again at the premiere of My Bigfoot Life, and we managed to catch up then. But that seems so long ago now. So what have you been up to since?
Well, February, yeah. As I say, just touch on that Legend Seekers for a moment, because yeah, it was a great opportunity. It's quite outside my normal wheelhouse. When you get a phone call to say, "Do you want to come and be a film person or director of photography?" Because I was just operating a camera, but everyone wants titles. So I'm now director of photography, but I was made with the camera going, "Whoa, oh, there's a sheep."
I was down as EP, so I wouldn't worry about it.
So I know I like the title. I'm not going to knock it, but essentially a great opportunity. Not normally what I get involved with, but Dartmoor's on my doorstep, and going out with Daniel and Chris and Ryan and all that lot. You don't turn opportunities down like that.
No, you don't.
So really good chance to and an opportunity to meet you then as well. So yeah, we kind of know each other from the periphery of Daniel Lee Barnett and his Bigfoot activities.
Yes, definitely.
We all seem to do different things as well. And for myself, I haven't seen you since February, but I've been really busy. I write for UAPedia.ai. It's the largest online repository of UAP information on the internet. Think Wikipedia, but without any of the cynicism. Admittedly, we do, we don't hide things. We do kind of run things through. There's a wealth of articles which cover sort of old UFO cases, new UFO cases, aspects of what potentially NHIs are, all those various ones, various theories around that, so like multi-dimensional theories and all that sort of stuff. I've been writing a lot of high strangeness articles, and I'm learning a lot as I'm doing this. So I approached them. I would say I watched a UAPCon, the first UAPCon back in January, I think it was.
Yeah.
There was the likes of Rizwan Verk on there, and Whitley Strieber and Jeffrey Kripal and people like that. And it was definitely more consciousness-based UFO stuff rather than the nuts and bolts. And for me, with nuts and bolts, I've never felt comfortable about this idea that we're being visited by creatures from way beyond our solar system. It just never made sense, unless of course they've been here for forever. Now I'm not going down that ancient aliens route just yet, but it's an easy one to go down if you kind of think about it. It doesn't make sense for something. If you kind of look at Jacques Vallée's theories on sort of UAPs, if we, so for example, would go and probe another planet, we wouldn't be sending numerous probes over many years. You'd send a probe, it would do its work for a few weeks and then go back and report, and that would be it. So what the craft, or what the UAPs that we're kind of talking about have been doing it for decades. So it's a long way to come. So what they are, I don't know. So this consciousness idea that they actually may be more than nuts and bolts craft is something that I've really kind of hooked onto, and as I've been discovering over time, it's like this map that's been unfolding for me. It's been going on for a long time, and when I started reading the likes of Jacques Vallée or John Keel, I saw a lot of similarities between the stuff I was reading years back when I used to practice magic, the magic with a K, not Daniel's kind of stuff, but the Crowley rather than the Daniel's approach. And there was a lot of similarities with that, and that's kind of really resonated with me. And then the more I've discovered, the more a lot makes sense. So all my waffle, I'll explain really what I'll explain my encounter, if you don't mind, because
go for it.
The UAPedia work is fantastic, and it's something I want to come back onto, and I would recommend everyone goes and have a look at, because actually last week I did find myself on UAPCon 2. So UAPCon 1 had like Whitley Strieber and Jeff Kripal and all that lot. UAPCon 2 has the likes of Daniel Sheehan. Now, I don't know if you know Daniel Sheehan. He's the legal representative for Lou Elizondo.
Yes.
But way back in the day, I know him from historically because I'm a bit of a politics nerd to a point. He was the legal representative that worked Watergate and also ran Contra and the Pentagon Papers. So he's kind of someone quite big. And the other really big person on there was Linda Moulton Howe. And I'm sure everyone's fairly familiar with Linda Moulton Howe and her Earth Files on YouTube and obviously on Facebook, sorry, and her work on obviously Ancient Aliens. It comes up again, but everyone will be familiar. Even my parents know her from that, so she's quite well known in that regard. And then they asked me to go on, and I was like, okay, I'll explain what I'm doing here, but I felt a bit humbled by that. But I thought, great opportunity, and I got an opportunity to kind of say my piece alongside some other experiences. So we had an interesting experience, a panel. We had Meredith Spearman. I would recommend listening to her. She's amazing. And we also had Holly Ann Wood, that UAP girl from Liverpool. Absolutely amazing. Wonderful couple of experiences.
Yeah, just before you carry on with that, because I know Holly, I've met her a couple of times. She's actually designed an app called Nanu, Nanu.
Okay.
It's a bit like Enigma. I'll show you now.
Okay.
So if you can see, it's this one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's not quite, it just won't.
Yeah. Vaguely
Nanu. I like that. It throw back to Mork and Mindy,
You click on that and it goes into loads of different stuff, and these are, there you go. So that's when you open it, and then it's a bit like
fantastic.
It's a bit like social media, but you can, like Twitter, a bit like X.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of her stuff on Insta, the things she films outside her house and stuff like that. So yeah,
amazing. So I got an opportunity to kind of speak alongside these two, and again, they're well experienced experiences, and nobody really knows who I am in that regard. But I had my 10 minutes, and my 10 minutes went for 15. But and I'm sure they were trying to pull me off with a shepherd's crook to shut me up. I managed to.
I don't think so. You've got a lot of knowledge, Richard, and a lot of experience. So it's about time that was heard.
I'm my own worst critic. I'm sure we all can be at that at sometimes. So I had this great opportunity to kind of speak, and that was amazing. And I find myself on here doing this now as well. So I've talked all this kind of preamble to what's led me here, really. And I'll not explain it in order because it doesn't really work well in order. But way back in 1980, when I was 9.5 years old, I used to live in a town called Washington, Tyne-Wear.
Yeah.
Yep, near Sunderland.
Yeah.
And one school day, I was in the playground. It's an old Victorian school. I'm not that old. The school was old. That was 1980. It was an old school. And I'm there in the playground, and I don't know what causes me to look up, but I'm looking up into the sky, and it's a spring day. It's the best I could look out. It's a spring day. It was nice blue skies, nice clouds, not huge, not small, just clouds.
Yeah,
it's kind of spring British kind of summer, spring morning kind of thing. And there I'm looking at this cloud, and slightly behind the cloud. So if you can imagine looking at a cloud, and then you look at the bottom of it, and you go across to the far left of the cloud. So like the bottom left-hand corner, if a cloud can have a corner, the bottom left bit, as it were, behind it. So you got the cloud, and then behind it, right there, on about a 45-degree angle, was a craft. And I've never called it a UFO because I could exactly see what it was. So it was stationary, but it was there. The cloud kind of slightly obscured the very top of it. So it was kind of further distant back, and it was angled in such a way I couldn't really properly see the full bottom. But what I saw was your atypical 1950s sci-fi movie bell-shaped flying saucer.
Yeah.
Right. It was gunmetal. It had portholes. It had a skirt. It had little domes on the bottom because it was slightly tilted back. I couldn't see all three of them, but I would definitely say there was three of them. I could see certain two. Just the way it was angled, it couldn't quite see it. And as I said, it looked like the portholes. It had a dome on the top, but it was slightly obscured by this cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm staring at it, and I'm like, that's weird. It's a flying saucer. And I don't know how long I stared at it for, but I can't imagine it was long, because it's a school playground and loads of people are playing, and I'm looking up there and there's a flying saucer. And there's a girl standing next to me in the playground, and I literally turned my eyes away from this flying saucer and looking at it to this girl and said to her, I've just seen a flying saucer. And she said to me in her best Northeast accent, no, you haven't. And I literally looked back up and it was gone. It wasn't there. It had vanished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't think I had the foresight to kind of look around all around to see it flying anywhere.
Yeah.
But from where it was a moment ago, it was not there. The
But
cloud.
Sorry, just quickly, because I had a similar account. But do you not think, like you said, you didn't think about looking around? Did you not get the feeling though that it just wasn't there anymore? You didn't need to look around.
I guess it did, because I didn't feel it had gone. And I was like, right, that's weird. It just vanished. And the weirdest thing was the cloud hadn't moved, or it may have moved slightly, but it hadn't kind of morphed or turned into anything else. But the cloud was in the same place. So it wasn't like the cloud had moved or something like that, or anything like that. It was definitely not like oh, look, this cloud looks like a dog, now it looks like a rabbit sort of thing. This was gunmetal flying saucer. And what was weird, well, apart from everything that was weird about it, was at the time I couldn't quite comprehend why I'm looking at what I would, as a 9.5-year-old, was thinking, why am I looking at like a 1950s sci-fi flying saucer?
Yeah.
And that was always stuck with me massively, because I've got this kind of impression of it burned in my memory. It's one of those kind of things that you see it and you just can't not see it.
Yeah.
And I often wondered, did I imagine it because the girl next to me didn't see it, right? And I would think, if I was, this is me just musing over this over the years, if I was imagining something or making something up, I'm a 9.5-year-old, it's 1980. I'm like Star Wars mad at that point in my life. So I might have imagined like, oh, there's a Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, there's an X-wing hiding behind there,
or something contemporary to kind of 1970s, 1980s kind of what I'm watching. So if I'm imagining something in my own little brain, then I'm imagining like, oh, there you go, something from Buck Rogers or something. But no, I'm seeing something that I'm not really familiar with. And then it was years later, as I was doing my own research, because I kind of dipped into UFO stuff over the years. And my story, I didn't really tell anyone. I certainly didn't go around after playground to go to a teacher, hey, I've just seen a flying saucer. It being 1980, I'd get a clip round the ear and you're lying. And I'll be honest, I was, I don't know, when I was about that age, I was I made up stories to sound really cool, or so you'd think. You know, the way 9-year-olds or 8-year-olds or 10-year-olds will do to make, I'm really cool, I do this. And I like one of the ones, what was it? Oh, my dad was a chauffeur. I kind of pretended he's got a Rolls Royce in the other garage and he goes off chauffeuring. He didn't, he was a postman, but for some reason that would try to make me sound cool. And that this UFO thing, I didn't go and tell everybody. I wasn't running around going, this me, I saw a UFO. It was mine, it was personal. And I told a handful of people over the years. And then I'm reading Jacques Vallée one day, Passport to Magonia. And lo and behold, this person sees a UFO, and a person next to them does not. There's a few accounts like that. And I'm like, that's really interesting. And I kind of just squirreled it away, but didn't do very much about it. And also, when I started doing some research into this, because I've always dabbled with writing, and I've kind of written essays about Bigfoot over the years. But I always felt I was regurgitating other people's stuff because I've not had a Bigfoot encounter. I just felt I literally, well, such and John Green said this, Matt Pruitt said this, and I'm just repeating verbatim and writing my own kind of take on it. I always enjoy that process of writing. So I started writing up my own UFO encounter and started looking into the aspects of it. So where I saw my UFO, where the flying saucer, the bell, it wasn't huge, by the way. It was what people would class as a scout ship. It's not like I would imagine something from close encounters. I need to point this out. It was a functional craft. But when I was looking into the research around it, because the area I saw it, because I was in the school playground, it was a village called Fatfield in Washington, and where it was over this area of woodland, and the woodland is called General's Wood, and I thought, oh. Why is it called General's Wood? It might have something interesting to do with it. Bearing in mind, at this point, I've read an awful lot of like Jacques Vallée and John Keel and people like that. So I'm like primed. And I started, why is it called General's Wood? And it was essentially just because it was an old estate name, but that's not the really interesting part. What really struck me, and this is if you're any fans of John Keel and the Mothman prophecies might pick up on this kind of idea, this area used to be an old mine.
Oh.
Right. It's bearing in mind though, Washington, Tyne and Wear, the northeast of England, it was predominantly a mining area. Washington was a new town built around kind of old mining villages. So it's not unsurprising there's mines around, but I didn't know this at the time. But yeah, way back in 1817, I need to get I've written this all down, but I haven't got my notes in front of me. Around 1817, there was a massive mining disaster there.
Oh, no.
And something like 37 people died in one day. And then a few days later, the pit owners, what I initially thought would send people down to rescue people. No, they didn't.
No, they
Pit
don't.
owners had sent people down there to get the pit reopened.
Yeah.
And so another 7 people died. So about 144 people died in the course of a few days.
Oh, Bennett.
And it was horrible.
Yeah, there weren't no labour laws back then.
Certainly not. No. And if I'm putting my skepticals on a little bit, I would say, you know, any area with any mine is going to have disaster areas. But it also rang kind of true that when John Keel talks about like Mothman in Mount Pleasant or places like that, these are kind of areas of disasters where things have gone on or traumatic things have occurred, and this is where UFOs occur. And when I saw that UFO literally above General's Wood, and then later on I kind of put this like, oh, there's an extra bit of information, mining disaster, hundreds and hundreds of people have died there over the years, not just that one disaster, but others. It makes you do wonder, is there something to what John Keel was saying? Now, I'm not saying that's a definite thing, that, because X number of miners died here, this is going to generate UFOs. But people do kind of talk about UFOs being underground somehow. I'm not going down that route necessarily, the underground bases under Washington, but it does make you think, what is the connection between like areas of trauma and potential UFO encounters?
It's that energy, isn't it? That imprint that's been left within the land of high emotion, fear, grief, frustration, and loss of money for the unscrupulous mine owner. But as I say,
the thing is with that,
rescue people wasn't really their priority.
No, because the energy must stay on. I'm not saying it must, but surely the energy will stay in that area for a collective amount of time. So if it's high energy, like you were just saying, is that going to draw these different phenomena into it? Not just UFOs, but anything related to the paranormal.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of see if there's anything more goes on around that area, because I was only just doing a preliminary kind of look into what was going on around that particular area of Fatfield, and lo and behold, I stumble across all of that, and it's not an answer, far from it, and I'm not offering, unfortunately, I'm not here to give you any answers. I'm just I have more questions, and that's kind of how I like to play it, really. But it kind of rung true, and it's like, is this something to it? And so that was an extra layer of my own UFO encounter. And over the years, I read other people having these kind of similar encounters with bell-shaped craft. And I don't know what I did with this information, because I'm sure if I was going to be taking notes, if I was going to be kind of researching myself, I should have been taking notes a lot sooner than I was. But you do what you do. But what really struck with me, and what made me think there's more to the phenomenon and my interaction with it than just a UFO encounter, was reading a book, and it was only last year. It was Joshua Cutchin's Fourth Wall Phantoms. I don't know if you've
Right,
read
yeah.
it. Really recommend it. It's a massive book, and what I would thought for what I would have thought was quite a small subject, it being people's encounters with imaginary beings. And I thought, this is going to be a large book for somebody who kind of sees Bugs Bunny. And that does slightly come into it, but there's a whole lot more to it. And I discovered there was a heck of a lot more to it that was really personal to me as I'm reading it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was one of those books that I was reading a section, I'd put it down, go off and do something, think about something, and then the next thing I'd read, I'd already considered it. It was a
Yeah.
book so racked full of synchronicities, or
Yeah.
I was kind of on the same page, or on the same page as the author in what was it to expect to come in some of these rabbit holes he was going down.
Yeah.
And there was a few things in there that really just kind of jumped out the page at me and kind of slapped me about a bit and said, look, sit up and pay attention.
Yes.
And the first being, the Bell encounter, the UFO encounter. Again, I'd read about other people having them. There's a whole host of them, but
Yes.
it was a particular account by Terence McKenna. Are you familiar with Terence McKenna?
I heard the name, but not much. Yeah, I heard the name.
Yeah, okay. My misspent youth. He was very into psychedelics, mushrooms, and DMT and various things.
Yeah.
But he was a very interesting person. I would recommend anyone looking him up on, say, YouTube. He has a really interesting voice, and he speaks the wisest words go. On the nature of psychedelics, but the nature of reality, consciousness, and a lot of other things. But I won't dive too much into Terence. But one particular thing was this book mentioned was his own encounter in the Amazon basin whilst he wasn't on mushrooms, where he saw this same kind of craft that I'd seen. This bell-shaped UFO, 1950s, Adamski style flying saucer. And then the book goes on about a few more people. There was a family in Oxfordshire in about 1980 had a very similar account as well. And then there was the school in Wales in 66 had a very similar bell-shaped account. So there's a history behind it. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I should be paying more attention. And that really resonated. And then further into the book, the next big revelation hit me massively, was this possible link that people who have childhood imaginary friends in early childhood go on to encounter UFOs later in life. And that was a big revelation for me, because I had my own childhood imaginary friend when I was a nipper. He was called Nicholas, and he went everywhere with me. And I've been putting some feelers out about this, and lo and behold, it went from about 5 people initially, me included, to about 8 people. So I've not got a huge amount of to play with here. But
make it 9.
9, okay. Right, I'm going to add 9 to this. This is lovely. I'm going to quiz you on this one then. The 9 people then, right, had a childhood imaginary friend and a UFO encounter. So but I should check you. Have you had a UFO encounter? You could be the one that says nay.
Yes, one that I can really stand out as a child, but many as an adult. Yeah.
And there you go. So one more to my list. I don't know what this means. I could go down rabbit holes, and I have been. Of what's known as the diamond. There's some interesting books on this idea that you've got this spirit twin. I don't know how I feel with how I feel about the necessary soul, but because it has that necessarily religious context, and I've probably got to work my own way through that as an idea. But the idea that you've got this kind of soul twin who is not necessarily a conscience. You could say it's the non-dominant, the boring science part is it's the non-dominant hemisphere of your brain that kind of only works in symbols and that kind of thing. It can't communicate, is communicating with the other side of the brain that can interpret it. And as a small child, those barriers are a lot more permeable, and so you can have that interaction. It sounds less romantic than this idea of this kind of soul twin who's kind of there, this diamond who's going to guide you and give you this kind of these morals. But
almost
it just
like a higher consciousness sort of thing within yourself.
Yeah. Well, I've got a question. He's frozen.
He's frozen.
No, don't freeze, Richard.
So did you have an imaginary friend, Andy, as a kid?
No, But I don't have an imaginary friend, but I had a lot of UFO encounters when I was younger.
That's interesting, because the book also pointed out not everybody who has UFO encounters has imaginary friends, but everyone who has an imaginary friend does have the UFO encounter. So it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know what it means.
Works one way, but not the other way.
Yeah. So I know people who've had UFO encounters, but they've never had one.
Well, I don't remember having an imaginary friend, but I had UFO encounter. The first one, I think. I had an encounter when I was 4. I don't know what that was. And then when I was about 8 or 10, and I was born in 73. But I just wanted to pick your brains on something that I was talking to Baby with a Laser about last week. And it's just something that I've stumbled upon, like just thinking about all this UAP stuff and contactees and abductions. So can I just throw this question at you while it's fresh in my head? So when people see these UAPs, UFOs, and you don't always hear a noise. Some of them have lights, some don't have lights, but there's always some sort of communication going on from the craft, whether it's mechanical nuts and bolts or whether it's organic. What if when they are shining the lights are doing the pattern? Let's go with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Let's stick with that scenario. When they're doing that, what if, because we all have it, every living creature, when Richard mentions about DMT, what if these frequencies are activating something in your body or in your mind that's creating a big influx of DMT so that then you can have that experience or that encounter with the UFO or the being? So you don't have to go there physically, even though some people are physically taken. But what if it creates this chemical release for you then to have that encounter or that experience? And that's what the lights and frequency and humming noises are, because your body doesn't, your ears don't always hear the frequency sounds, but your body always does pick it up regardless of what it is. Because you have people that have bad reactions to Wi-Fi. Chris Meek from Scottish Paranormal, he'll talk about it quite a lot. He can't have Wi-Fi in his house. He's got to switch it off. He's got to switch stuff off on his mobile. He turns his mobile off quite a lot. If you speak to him, he'll tell you. So what if it's that kind of thing?
It could be interesting. This is why the consciousness element works, and this idea that the brain can kind of move through dimensions. So if you have a DMT encounter, are you physically seeing these DMT elves that Terence McKenna would talk about? And they're one part of it. There's layers of reality or layers of dimensions. This notion that the brain can kind of think up to 11 dimensions is crazy. But if you kind of dabble in psychedelics and things, you do know you can kind of move around in levels of dimension. And this thing about allegedly, apparently. This what you mentioned about the frequencies is a really interesting point. I used to correspond with a chap called Brian Barrett. He was a British friend of Timothy Leary. Again, my childhood, my misspent youth. But
we're all showing our age here, don't worry.
Yeah, Brian Barrett, a really interesting cat. He investigated these burial cairns in Ireland and around the world, and certain burial cairns will resonate at a frequency of about 110, 111 hertz.
Something like
and
that,
if you are in a position where you're in this resonant of 111 hertz, it does something to the brain, and it can trip you out. It gives you that altered state of consciousness. And it just, what you were saying there, Andy, about this frequency thing, it kind of rings true, because you don't physically need to move to do that level of, say, for example, somebody smoked DMT. They're not going to get off their couch and physically go to another realm. But the brain moves it through to dimensions. You're entering a different realm, and that's not beyond the realm of possibility to explore an idea, to kind of say that, if they're communicating and they're messing around with frequencies, it could well be the case.
Also, as well,
Oh, I was just going to say what made me think of it was because I use meditation. I use binaural beats and isochronic
Yes.
sounds.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I literally sit here, have the headphones on, and just either sit back or doing some editing while it's
Can't
on.
find it.
But, and you go into them different states, and I'm still doing what I'm doing. It's like, I suppose, like being hypnotized or
Yes.
having like regression or anything like that. Like Richard, you said, you're not physically moving, but you are going into a different state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have these headsets as well. I mean, you've got the God helmet in America, you've got Illuminate in the UK, where you put the visors on and they flash different rates of lights in your eyes to create a psychedelic state or get you into that brainwave pattern or activate the pineal.
That sounds like
over in
the dream machine that Brian
Yeah.
Geist and William Burroughs were working on back in the
Yes.
late 50s, early 60s.
Yes.
And so it's
And
a
they
modern version of it. What? Oh, well, I'll have to make a note of this.
Yes, I've got one actually. I was just trying to find it. No, I couldn't find it. It was
Yeah.
next to me, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah. Well, the other thing we were saying as well, it's like colours create frequency, lights create sound, sound creates light, and
Yeah.
everything else in the mix. Each thing creates the next, and it
Yes.
also creates different frequencies. So if you've got light, sound, and colour, imagine the frequencies that are being created that we cannot get our heads around.
That's an interesting point. John Keel used to talk a lot about the visible spectrum of UAPs, and it's an interesting point. If you watch like UAPs or orbs coming in, they'll come in through the ultraviolets and the
infrared.
Way it goes infrared, yeah. So the way it shifts through the pattern, so we get to see them potentially. This is just a thought. They'll come in through the color spectrum. We'll see them at some point when our eyes are able to visually understand them.
Yeah.
But they'll keep on moving, and that's why sometimes when you're kind of seeing these, like the new videos and things that may be being released, they're seeing them on the infrared, but you never see them physically with your own eyes.
Same with the footage I showed last week. I saw one with the naked eye and was witnessed by 4 people above Kit Hill over Tavistock, but the other stuff in the cloud bank, we did not see it unless we were looking through the night vision scope. So
you know, they hide in plain sight. We just can't see.
Before I forget quickly, you were talking about how these burial cairns and all the rest of it have that resonant frequency to them. But if you go inside some of the ones that have been opened and do any kind of audio work or anything like that, it's actually a frequency chamber. It's a sound chamber. So if you go in there and do the or you're doing either a sound bowl or anything like that, the way it resonates. And I was in, West Kennet Long Barrow, and I was hearing the noise from the traffic going up and the way it was resonating around. I'm like, this is a frequency chamber. And we replicated that when we were out there with HD, when I took them to Wiltshire, because after the 2 years me and Martin went and the experiences we had, the gang wanted to go and see it from themselves. So we were inside West Kennet Long Barrow. We were doing the which is basically the frequency of the universe, and yeah, it was interesting that this guy appeared out of nowhere and just said and then was looking for his mates, and then he kind of like disappeared. We went up on the barrow, we couldn't see him. As you know, it's miles of flat fields around. We had a night vision scope, we could see for miles ourselves.
What did you manifest?
I don't know. When I went back a few years later, I can tell you about that one as well.
Alternate dimension, just wondered where the heck he turned up. That's always another kind of interesting point on that one. So yeah, it's interesting to play with as ideas. This kind of the fact that they'll resonate at certain frequencies or play with the spectrum of light that we kind to operate in.
Do you think that's why we feel them before we see them? I mean, especially as experiencers.
Infrasound.
It's not even just infrasound. You feel it here. You feel it within
your
axis mundi, which is
that's your infrasound. Is your solar plexus.
Solar plexus is here. I feel it here.
Well, it hits you there. It's like right in the middle. And that's what the brown noise and all that different, the deeper vibrations.
But you feel them, and then you instinctively know what part of the sky to look up at, and then there they are in the visible light spectrum, or they appear in the visual light spectrum for a second, and then go
But
back
then you
into
get,
invisible light.
yeah, if you're out just doing whatever, mainly like when you're driving, you can tell when there's someone in a vehicle at the side of you that's looking at you. You don't even
Yeah.
have to turn to look at them to know they're doing it. Because the
Mm.
amount of time you turn or you get caught looking at someone, whichever, it goes both ways. You'll see someone, they'll be looking at you, or you'll look at someone and they'll turn and look at you.
Well, they say security cameras, they tell you if you're watching a shoplifter on security cameras, do not focus on that person because they will turn around and feel it and look at the camera. They actually tell people in CCT operating systems not to do that.
So yeah, so
There you go.
That's primeval though. That's instinctive survival
Yeah.
with predators. That is when we're feeling the
But
icy what's it of the neck of a giant hyena or something, a saber-toothed
But
tiger
surely
coming up
that,
behind
though,
us.
that's giving you, that must be hitting a frequency. That must be resonating somewhere for you
Yes.
to pick up on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're
obviously.
doing it without knowing we're doing it.
Again, that's going back into magic and intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bring the science in, the second brain, which is your stomach, effectively, because you all feel that
Yes.
instinctive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's more to investigate on that as
Gut
an
feeling.
idea. You know, that
But
gut
then you
feeling.
get
It's very
skin,
true.
you
Yeah.
get goosebumps.
Well, you've got brain cells in your heart, you've got brain cells in your gut, you've got feelings in your gut and stuff like that. That's why they call it a gut feeling, you know, trust your gut.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting you
100%.
mentioned that. I was recently reading a book by Robert Temple called The New Science of Heaven. I should
Yes.
recommend that book. It's a fantastic book to read. It's about plasma.
Yeah.
But the fact that we are in a solid state reality is about 99.9% of the we're about 1%, 0.001% of the universe, and the rest of the universe effectively is plasma. It doesn't exist in things don't exist in the universe in kind of
No.
solid form state, and there are
Well,
kind of all
quantum physics
yeah.
dictates that
It's a
the
beautiful thing.
distance between atoms.
But it resonated quite massively because there's all these there's allegedly two plasma clouds. They're very difficult to detect, and the
Yeah.
book goes into the science of it. And I'm not a scientist. I just enjoyed reading it. But this idea that these ancient plasma clouds exist between the Earth and the Moon, and they're kind of
Yes.
storing all this knowledge, this information that they pass between themselves, because they don't exist in like as atoms.
No.
They're part atoms, or they're to be atoms effectively. They're the potential of things to come, and so matter is an interesting kind of thing to play with, but the idea that the point I was trying to get to, sorry, is this plasma will communicate with other plasmas through sort of
Yes.
this method, but it also applies to the plasma in our body, and they've discovered, or this book posits this idea that every single cell in our body communicates with every other cell, and there's conscious communication goes on, and so this idea that on a very small macro level, you've got conscious cells communicating through one another or to one another, and then you take it out into this wider scale, and it's talking universal. And so I love this idea that things are conscious, but not necessarily, look, this rock is conscious, but this idea that we are in a universe that has to understand that consciousness comes before matter.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And this is the I'll come on, if you don't mind, I'll bring on my consciousness is matter kind of theory. Because
it lives outside the body, doesn't it? Consciousness at the end of the day, they've scientifically proven that. And you know, the as you say, the research that this gentleman's done, he kind of posits that, you know, the universal consciousness is plasma, and that we are all actually part of it.
Yeah. It's amazing. But CERN apparently were discovering when they early in the days of CERN, they were discovering this kind of particle matter in the reactor, and they couldn't work out what it was. And it's basically stuff from nothing. It's plasma dust, but this plasma dust is the building blocks of everything. It's amazing, and that's the idea that it's conscious. And when you think of stuff manifesting from nothing, and if you kind of like, you think that sounds like Old Testament stuff, and people wandering the desert and getting this kind of manna every day, and you think, what, it's a wonderful feeling or sensation to kind of just explore as an idea. but the idea that consciousness kind of lives outside the body really hit me one day.
Yes.
And it didn't hit me at the time. And it was, again, reading this Joshua Cutchin book about all these fourth wall phantom stuff. And I'd mentioned this UFO encounter I had, and I kind of went, "Oh, that's really interesting. It's covered in this book," and also the childhood imaginary friends. But the next bit that really smacked me was this discussion about near-death experiences.
Yeah.
And I never, at the time, would have thought I had a near-death experience, but I never really looked into it. And there was a certain, when it happened, and the aftermath, I didn't want to talk about it because there was a certain amount of disappointment. And I'll explain. Many years ago, I've touched on Terence McKenna and Timothy Leary, so I'm going to kind of leave it there. But there's one particular occasion I was with a couple of friends, and we'd gone down this particularly heroic evening, shall we say, and it was spectacular. However, many hours later, when you're ready to go to bed and you can't sleep and you need something to put on telly before you can actually try and hit the pillow, I stood on, what was it? Gentlemen Broncos. Amazing film. Highly recommend Gentlemen Broncos. Have you seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. It's the second film by him, so it's his second film. And it features Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords and various other films.
Yes.
It's a highly funny film, but I'm kind of sitting there watching it with two companions, and I had a cup of coffee and a Jaffa cake, and I'm watching this film. Jermaine Clement comes on, and he does this really funny voice as this character. So funny, in fact, that I laughed whilst eating a Jaffa cake and laughed, and then apparently I went quiet. And the next thing my two companions realized was, oh, Richard's turned blue.
Oh, God.
Oh.
The next thing I really remembered was this friend of mine sitting on my back. Me going, why is my back hurt? Why is my cup of coffee strewn all over the floor? And what's going on? As I mentioned, I turned blue. But what happened during the time while I turned blue and got whacked on the back, there was this infinite moment, but it doesn't kind of make sense. But I was in an infinite moment,
Yes.
even though it didn't really last that long. I've never quite understood. I've called it a near-death experience. Somebody else raised the idea that it might have been out of body. I'm kind of happy to explore either of these notions. But what I come across in this book, Joshua Cutchin's book, was this very similar account to what I experienced, and that's what made me think, oh, there's more to this than I realized.
Yeah.
So what happened was, when I disappeared, I didn't exist. There wasn't no Richard Monck sitting there. I found myself, because there wasn't a me. So it's hard to kind of say in this context. I didn't exist, but what I experienced was an eternity of nothing. But it felt nothing, but it was beautiful. It was like really warm and cuddly and loving and just really nice.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, though, it was nothing. So, and I didn't know how to process that at the time, because when people talk about near-death experiences, they go, "Oh, look, you go down the white tunnel, and look, there's Nana, and there's your dog, and there's God knows what, and everything." It was nothing like that at all. It was just nothing.
I heard someone else say exactly the same thing last week. I don't know if it was on a podcast or what, but it was about this woman, and she said it's quite disturbing that there was absolutely nothing. There's no light to go down. There's nobody waiting for you. It was nothing, but it was an amazing feeling of nothing.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's literally what you've just said. I'm like, am I having deja vu or what's going on?
Bizarrely, though, I'd never thought of it, and I didn't want to come back and report to everybody, "Hey, look, guys, I've come back from the other side, and guess what? There's nothing."
Yeah,
I'm not going to spoil people's parties. However,
I mean, existential crisis aplenty going on there. I can imagine. Yeah.
Don't worry, there's nothing to look forward to, but it's nice. You don't have to go to work. It's fine. But that aside, when I read it in this book, this account, it was the same thing, but it's referred to as the I've only read it in a book, so forgive me. The pleroma. The pleroma. I'll go with pleroma. And effectively, it's this loving nothingness. And so what I encountered, philosophers had been talking about for thousands of years, and I'm like,
Jesus.
oh, hello.
It's
That's what I had. Hello, sir.
well,
That's me.
it's like was it the theory of I've had people like who've had like either near death and or like mediumship and stuff like that have said about this very concept. It's like we become a drop of water in the ocean. We're still the drop, but we're amalgamated into this frequency of just this wave of frequency that we become a part of. So we are still our experience, but we are part of this, and this is where the feeling comes from, of the nice being held, the happy feeling, and all the rest of it is this mass consciousness that we go back into. But just like a drop continues its form, if you drop a drop of water in the ocean, it'll always be a drop of water. It will still retain its
part of the bigger picture.
It becomes part of the whole, but still retain its integrity and mass.
Well, there was a theory behind it as well. So one of the theories is because this woman, it wasn't expected for her to have this near-death experience, so she didn't have any preconceptions as to what to expect when she got there.
Yeah.
So is that take on it, or is it because if you've got that preconception of what there's going to be after life, if you think there's nothing, you're going to get nothing. If you think you go into hell, you're going to have a really bad time. Or if you think it's going to be heaven, then do you get that concept of the afterlife? Yeah, basically,
Is the heavenly experience what you experienced? You just didn't have a visual on it because maybe you weren't dead long enough?
I wasn't ready. You wasn't expecting to be there.
Egotistical when I'm going to say this, and it's not meant to. But what I've read was, you get one level of death, which is your granny and your white light.
Yeah.
And then the next level up is your nothingness.
Yeah.
So you end up, it's like, hey, look at me. I went on the next level. I haven't leveled up, but it's where I go. So I missed out the granny bit and moved straight into the
universal consciousness. Yeah.
It could have been to do with the state of mind I was in at the time, because frankly, I was probably pretty chill at that point in my life. In that moment, as going out as moments to go out in, it wasn't traumatic apart from to anybody else who was there. But to me, it wasn't. I'm not being out. I wasn't being shot, stabbed, or anything like that. So it wasn't like a traumatic thing. It just felt slip into it. Did that have something to do with it? I don't really know. I'm not in a rush to find out. I wouldn't recommend anybody taking the Jaffa cake and the other route to find out.
Well, I mean, what an epitaph, death by Jaffa cake,
I know,
the embarrassment wouldn't have been the Jaffa cake. I would have been the one who died under the influence of some certain substance, and not the Jaffa cake. So some alternative reality. I'm the one to blame. That he's the first person to die on such and such. So
look, there are worse biscuits out there to die off.
Well, this is true.
Yeah.
And once I picked that up as an idea, I thought this is really interesting. That because sometimes when you encounter weird things, you sometimes think you're in isolation.
Yeah.
This is a bit weird, and I'll be honest, I'm one of those people that I've been called weird and odd all of my life. It doesn't really bother me in that regard.
You're in good company.
Yeah. And so it wasn't unusual, but you do feel what I encounter might not necessarily be unique to me, but it's not something you have an avenue you can thoroughly explore.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm only recently playing with this as an idea because I've got more information to understand it.
Yeah.
If I only ever believed I had one UFO encounter and that's all it was, obviously it was important to me and really, really a big moment, but it was never felt enough to kind of go, this is what I experienced. There you go. Whereas you got all these beautiful photos of people with orbs and things. I've not seen UFOs since then. I'd very much like to. They may have seen me, but I've not necessarily seen them. So as far as I was concerned, that was one and only one thing. But then to discover this is the way it keeps going. This is interesting. So I'd written everything up on my encounters, the UFO encounter, And I'd read up on loads of books off the back of this Joshua Cutchin one. So if you ever are writing a book, please include a good bibliography and notes. They really do come in handy. So did a lot of reading on that. And and I thought this is where it's kind of ended up. I've written this up. I've wrote a nice essay. I've shared it out. I even sent it off to Fortean Times, but I never heard back from them. But UAPedia, bless them, really enjoyed my article and posted it on their website. And now I've got my own Substack page, Cartography of Weird. I'll share a link to it. I've put it out there as well.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought I would end. I've been tinkering away at like a long book version of it. Writing books is not as easy as one can imagine. And that's where I thought, this is it. This is the sum total of my encounters, without going into any of the synchronicity elements of everything. If I was going to talk about synchronicities, it'd be here till Christmas. And I can touch on some of those.
But an important part, though, what people don't realise.
Yeah.
Absolutely important part.
Synchronicities have always kind of followed me around like a little lost puppy. You know, there are those who will kind of say, look, I can't operate until I have 5 synchronicities a day. I kind of acknowledge the synchronicity occasionally, and like a magpie, you wave at it and you just move on, sort of thing. You salute it and don't dwell too much on it.
You
but
say
there
thank you, you know you're on the right path. Cheers, mate, sort of thing.
That's it. But there has been occasions in life where I don't know, I've had synchronistic events occur, and I find them fascinating. I'm a big book person, as you can quite imagine, and one of the authors I really admire and always have done recommend to people is Robert Anton Wilson. He wrote the Illuminatus trilogy. He's written various other books. He was a very early proponent of like neuro-linguistic programming and things.
Yes.
He's the person responsible for the phrases reality tunnels and other such things.
Yeah.
Really interesting person to look into. But I started reading a lot of his stuff way back, and whilst I was undergoing like my magic practices. And lo and behold, you'd get synchronicities all the time. It was just constant.
Yeah.
And you felt very much you were on that right path. And then doing this research into consciousness and things, and I feel like I've gone down those kind of similar routes as well, that I'm getting those little synchronicity moments to go, okay, right, I'm doing something right. Sometimes you don't even notice them, but you go, oh yeah, that was there. Way back though, when I was doing Uncle Bob, Robert Anton Wilson stuff, a couple of really interesting synchronicity moments did occur, and I always think they're quite funny because Robert Anton Wilson was a big fan of the number 23, as was William Burroughs, as am I, and probably other Forteans too. And one, are you familiar with Genesis Peorage?
I've heard of the name, but not done much research. But I've heard of it spoken of.
What an interesting character Jen was.
Yeah.
Way back in the 70s, maybe 60s, they went on a voyage to go meet William Burroughs and Brian Geisen. Mentioned those a bit earlier about the Dream Machine.
Yeah.
Brian was, Genesis Peorage really was fascinated by the work they were doing, the magic work they were doing, Burroughs and Geisen, and went on to form a band in the late 70s called Throbbing Gristle. Very bad name, but it's a great band. Very industrial. They're a very interesting industrial band. But at the same time, Jen formed a cult called the Temple of Psychic Youth, and it was all about magical practices and things like that. And there was lots of weird stuff went on around that. Then later on formed Psychic TV, a kind of interesting band project. I woke up one morning having had this dream about Genesis Peorage, and I'll be honest, I don't really remember dreams very often, and I certainly don't often dream about Genesis Peorage. But I did, and it was one of those really vivid dreams that you felt, I've got to do something about this. And so through that course of the day, I went online, and why am I thinking of Genesis Peorage? Sometimes, it sounds a bit morbid, but when I've thought of somebody that importantly, it turns out they've died. And that's happened a few times, and I don't like that.
No, I know what you mean.
It's an uncomfortable one. But when I looked up Genesis Peorage, it turned out Psychic TV had literally announced that very day that they were doing a one-off show in London later that year. So I went and bought tickets. So, and it was a great venue. It was in London. It was like West End of London somewhere. It was a bit posh, but it was this old Baptist tabernacle. And I looked it up, and it's like, what is this place? It looks beautiful, but you know, it's a bit of posh for this kind of magical kind of ritual, trance music kind of event. But way back in the 60s, this tabernacle used to be called the UFO Club, and I was like, this is like but the UFO Club back in the 60s was home to the Soft Machine and Pink Floyd. It was their early kind of early place to play, and I'm a big fan of both Soft Machine and that as well, and Pink Floyd. So that was kind of a nice touch. But later that year, I got a copy of Genesis P-Orage's Psychic Bible. It's the Temple of masterpiece. I got a copy of it. It was limited to 999 copies. It sounds like showing off, but it's just synchronicity. I used to enjoy it. Limited 999 copies. My copy arrived in the post, signed everything. Guess what number I've got?
Oh, go on.
23.
Oh, I like it. It's got a sense. I mean, don't you find that Synchronicity's got a little bit of a sick and twisted sense of humor? There's almost like a sarcasm to it, isn't there? And sometimes when it happens, you laugh and you're like, you're not funny. And I get it, but you're not funny.
No, that I thought highly funny. It was just for me a very personal thing, but it was just like, oh my God, that's so funny. Why have I got funny? Brilliant.
Can I just say about Synchronicity? All last Thursday and Friday, I forgot to mention it, I was getting 666 on everything, from me fueling the van up to the times to even stuff on Instagram and TikTok with followers and videos, and just everything I clicked on was 666.
Nice. There you go.
And if it was 66, the next two numbers would add up to 6.
Yeah.
Not subtract or divide or messing about or anything like that. It was just, and I've got loads of screenshots. I'll send them you. And it's just, I'm like,
it's 3s and 7s with me.
But with 666, obviously, it wasn't a. I'm going to use the word evil, bad number.
No, it's not a bad number. It's a positive number.
Yeah, it's a 3 points.
Yeah.
No,
it's always fun when you can't spot them. It's just like you have to have a giggle. You know,
Hollywood and the works of Aleister Crowley that kind of made 666 the number of the beast and all the rest of it.
Just became everything I looked at was just 3 6s everywhere. I'm like, well, it can't be that bad because I'm still here. So.
No, exactly. You know, old Mr. Crowley's fine. He just lost his way about blessing. I don't know. He had so much opportunity. But never mind. I could discuss Crowley a lot longer than most things.
He fell in love with it where I live. This is where he felt, because he's staying with Leighton Bueller. So they don't like to publicize their Crowley history down here, but those that know. He
hung around Torquay for a while as well when he was younger, but I don't think they've got a blue plaque somewhere.
No, they don't. No.
You know, he used to go around
Wayward Limit here
in Rendlesham as well.
Yeah.
Don't know if you guys know. I know we spoke about it before.
Yeah.
What, you did some stuff around Rendlesham?
Near where the Rendlesham UFO landing site.
This is interesting.
Because trying to open portals, wasn't he, there?
This is an interesting point.
Doing everything.
He was doing that ritual. Oh, which one was it? Oh, I can't remember the name of the ritual. He did so many. Well, the one he opened up in Scotland in the 20s, early 20s. 20s, all around Loch Ness, which kind of, and that's when, was it Ham? His alien that looks like a grey? Is that Ham? Yeah, that's when that kind of manifests. But it's also later on at that sort of same time, Jack Parsons was doing various work across in California, doing sort of attempting to kind of raise a moon child and things. So there's all these weird rituals going on prior to this idea of kind of the modern UFO kind of wave and audience. I'm a bit of a Burroughs nerd as well, and what I always find interesting was when William Burroughs was a wee nipper, well before Roswell, he went to a private school, which is round the corner from Roswell. I say round the corner, it's American corner, so it's hard. But effectively, it was on the doorstep, and it's like
Americans do corners.
Well, I don't. But it was pretty long. But he was in the same neighborhood, as it were, way before kind of UFOs crashed in Roswell. You had William Burroughs as this kind of weird nipper, and he talked about encountering some weird entities way back in the sort of 1912s, early 20s, etc. So I don't know. It's interesting to play with these ideas. And sometimes they work better not saying them out loud. You say them out loud, you're writing a bad sci-fi novel.
Well, as you say about Torquay, I mean, it was founded by the Masons, basically. It was a collection of villages before that, and it became the occult centre of the Victorian times, and the great and the good have come down here since. Bowie, Rolling Stones, they wrote Sympathy for the Devil in the Grand Hotel.
Torquay is the state it's in today.
Pretty much. But yeah.
When I was writing my essay and kind of stuffed it out online, I kind of thought, right, there you go, there's my work done. I'm going to kind of go, there you go. I've written my masterpiece. I figured out that my life's a bit strange.
No.
Right, yeah. I mentioned earlier on, I write for UAPedia.ai.
Yeah.
It's an interesting crowd that work with them. Really lovely bunch. One of the chaps is Alan Steinfeld. Don't know if you're familiar with Alan Steinfeld. New Realities.
Yeah.
Do recommend checking him out. Really interesting guy. He's interviewed everybody. Is one of our chaps on the on UAPedia. Brian is currently doing the Alan Steinfeld archives, which are available on Spotify and on the UAPedia website. I was listening to a great one with Whitley Strieber yesterday. Absolutely fantastic. And there was an interesting one uploaded with Richard Dolan.
Nice.
Where was I going? Hang on. Yeah. So I was having a conversation in one of our meetings about, we talk UFOs constantly, UAPs all the time, and I was mentioning I was reading a book at the time. It was hang on, John Mack's where is it? Sorry, just bear with me. I can find it.
You're all right.
Yeah, Abduction by John Mack. Sorry. Interesting book. Now, when it comes to UFO abduction stuff, I'm always a bit creeped out. I don't know what it is, but this could be something to do with it. This is interesting as a thought experiment. I've read like the Betty and Barney Hill book, The Interrupted Journey. Again, creeped me out a little bit, but it was an interesting read because once I read that book, every other, like I'd watch documentaries on the Betty and Barney Hill stuff. Once you sit there and actually read verbatim their entire transcripts, that really rings it home for me anyway, because again, I'm probably a book person. I pick up more information that way. I read that. It was a bit creeped, but I was like, it's a bit weird. Don't feel uncomfortable about this. I also read the Whitley Strieber Communion book.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is really, again, creepy. I don't know if you've seen the film version of it with Christopher Walken as Whitley Strieber, but that's a great film. Film made in the 80s, looks a bit rubbery monsters, but again, it creeps the heck out of you.
Night of the Demon, apparently it happened, but yes. Was it? Is it Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That was based on. Yeah.
Blade Runner. Yeah. But yeah, the Whitley Strieber book, Communion. Again, I read it, and I felt uncomfortable about it, but I kind of put it to one side. But I started reading the John Mack. I wasn't reading all these in order, by the way, but I've just kind of over time just picked up certain books to dip into. And I thought I'll pick up the John Mack book because it's about abductions. And I'd seen John Mack on various interviews, like for example, the Zimbabwe, the schoolyard incident back in 1994, for instance. John Mack, really interesting guy. And I thought, let's go down this route. So I started reading Abduction. And unfortunately, it's abduction after abduction after abduction after abduction. And it was too much for me. And I just had to put it down. Sometimes I'm not a defeatist with books, but sometimes I'm like, I've had enough now after about 5 abduction cases. They're all very different, but they all follow that same pattern. And I put it down. And I just happened to mention this in a meeting on the UAPedia group. And Alan Steinfeld goes, because he's had abduction encounters and various things. He says to me, have you considered this idea that, you may have, you creeped out by this because, something may have happened to you. And I'm like, I'm quick to dismiss that very quickly.
Don't blame you.
All right. And it doesn't really comfortably sit with me. And I'm not, I'm not exploring. I'm not exploring this as a notion. I'm just going to put that to one side and not bother with it. But
How
then
you
somebody
feel on
else
that one?
mentioned it, and then somebody else mentioned it, and then it came up a few times during UAPCon recently, and I was like, I'm just going to look into this a little bit. And what made me look into something was when I was younger, I used to have 2 recurring dreams.
Yes.
This made me think this is really interesting because these what I thought were dreams, I didn't actually initially think they were. Well, I did one of them, but the other one I didn't. The first one I thought was so real that it actually happened to me. And
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
asked my parents, did this happen to me? And they denied it. They said, no, that never happened. But I fed this into, it was just on Claude AI. And I just said, look, I want to explore this idea of screen memories. This idea that, you've got extra memories implanted over something that's not there. And I'd read like The Messengers by Mike Selland, and that's all about screen memories being out. But I just thought these 2 weird dreams I used to have were very vivid. Let me just type them in and say, let's explore this idea of screen memory in conjunction with these 2 dreams. So the first one was such a vivid thing. It was me as a toddler leaving my parents' house in Billingham, going down the path, turning left, crossing the road, going up a grass embankment, and then I was in this playground from school, okay? So it's got a little fence. I got over it. And there was much bigger children there, like really big. And I was kind of like waddling child. It wasn't like I'd fall out, it felt like that. So I wasn't like fully movable in that regard. So I don't know what age my dream was kind of
Toddler walk to it.
Toddler walking,
Yeah.
And there was all these big children. And then a bell rings, and then they'd run off, and I'd be on my own, and then I'd wake up. Or so I'd think. And so I said to my parents, did this happen? Did I leave the house, and did I cross the road and go to a school? And they're like, no, you never escaped the house, and there was never a school there. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. But it used to happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't have them anymore, but it was constant. It was one of those really real dreams. I was like, is this real? So I had to get that clarification. And the other one was a much older one. I was a teenager, but it used to happen all the time. And admittedly, I used to think it was just an anxiety dream, teenage anxiety. Getting off the school bus, crossing the road, or attempting to cross the road to go to my parents' house in Washington, but I'd lost the power of my legs. And so as a result, I couldn't walk. And so I couldn't cross the road. So I had to pull myself over the road like this. And I couldn't, and I'm dragging myself sort of thing. And there was all oncoming traffic. And I had to try and get across the road before I was squashed by a bus. And I never did. I always used to wake up before I got hit by a bus. But it was so intense. And I don't even know why they popped into my head, but I thought I'm just going to explore them as an idea. These are the 2 most vivid dreams I ever used to have. And so I kind of said to Claude, the AI thing, I said, look, do any of these dreams resonate with what people talk about screen memories? And guess what? It said yes. I didn't like that. But equally, it's an interesting avenue to explore. I'm really not saying I've been abducted by aliens, but there's enough flags on, like the first one, this toddler going somewhere unknown, crossing a road is always like a threshold thing. You're kind of growing over. Then this, I don't know what the green climbing up an embankment maybe to kind of see what's further in, but having these much larger children over me, inspecting me, and then running away, is kind of jives with what people kind of talk about with screen memory. And the other one again with the losing power of your legs and kind of dragging over before you can do. It's an interesting idea. I'm honestly not saying, hey, look at me, I've been abducted by little green things. If that's the case, I don't know what the heck I would do with it. But it's an interesting avenue to explore. If it said to me, oh, Rich, you're talking out your hat, forget it, then I could easily forget about it. But it's given me something extra to kind of look into. And admittedly, I've got to try to bite the big one and start to read the John Mack Abduction book. And I've just literally picked up the Bud Hopkins book, Missing Time, from the early 80s, because apparently that's a really interesting one to look into. So I've just got avenues to explore. I'm not coming to you and saying, hey, look at me, I've had all these weird stuff and I've had a UFO encounter and I've been abducted. I don't think so. I really don't think in my heart of hearts I have. But maybe that's also massive denial. But equally, if I was to find out, look, hey, you've been abducted when you were a child and this happened, it's like, I'm nearly 56. What the heck would I do with that information at this point in life?
Yeah.
Do you know
I don't
what's really,
Go on.
what's really strange about that? It's two dreams that I remember having. Yeah, I don't remember them being repetitive, but one of them, I'm on the. So I used to go to, from Manchester originally. I used to go to Moorside High, and the entrance to the school was on a road called Wentworth Road. So I'm down the bottom of the Wentworth Road, and I'm trying to get away, but my legs are not working, and I can't get away. And I'm only about probably not even 50 yards away from the school gates.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. And then the other one is I'm in the school playground, and we've got there's all these different size balls and different colours.
Yeah.
And there's two buildings. So you had like the lower building and the upper building. I can't remember which was which. It was a while ago. And they're outside the building. It's like where we used to go and do registration and that first.
Yeah.
And the canteen and all that was in that one. And there's all these monsters, all different shapes and sizes, stood outside. And we had to throw these balls at them. And when we got the gold one, if we hit them with the gold ball, they'd vanish. And it was all weird dreams like that. That's just two that's two I can remember. Like it had happened to me 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I'm going back 20, 30 years ago at least.
Yeah. You should speak to John Hanson about it, because his records and his archive, he's spoken to many abduction cases, people. He would be able to tell you if there's a correlation between what you've both experienced.
Yeah,
and
just with Richard saying that, it's like,
yeah,
that just triggered the two different dreams.
I had reoccurring dreams that weren't like that.
Very lucid.
Yeah.
But what
mine were past life related.
I'm just trying to bring up this conversation I was bringing up with my Claude AI, because it told me it was just enough to kind of go, I could be talking out my hat, but equally it gave me enough to go, here we go, let me just come up.
Yeah.
The trouble with AI is sometimes it will tell you what you want to hear, so you have to tell it to be
I do check everything.
Grounded.
Sometimes it tells you what you don't want to hear.
Yeah,
this is true as well. Yeah.
So what it says here for my first dream, the toddler in the school. So what I mentioned there, the structural elements here are striking. You are anonymously small in a space that you have no business occupying. The older children, beings larger than you, developmentally beyond you, are fascinated with you, examine you, and then leave. You are returned to yourself without resolution. What's particularly interesting is the confirmation detail you sought from your parents. The school didn't exist near the house, so the dream isn't a processed memory. It's either purely generated or it maps onto an experience that was not the school playground So in screen memory logic, the playground is the substitute image. It provides a coherent, socially legible setting for what the deeper experience may have involved. Transportation to an unfamiliar environment, examination by entities of a different order, and abandonment or return. So it maps into things, but it's worth exploring in the physical book sense rather than just trusting the old AI. But if it had said to me, you're talking nonsense, I'd quite happy to put that to one side, or at least explore it as a bit further notion. But what I'm kind of thinking, my logic is, I'm still on a learning journey. This thing's unfolding slowly for me. If I was going to be doing this to get out there and say, look, everybody, I've been a UFO abductee way back, I would have done it when I was younger and cuter and had a bit more time on the screen. Whereas now I'm just slowly understanding things as I'm going through. And it's a slow process, I think. And
that leads to more of a genuine experience. I'm not saying an abduction experience, but that leads to a more genuine experience within yourself. You are working these things out bit by bit by bit. You're reading these things. They are giving you that validation of, hang on, that happened to me, and I can relate to that, and that similar happened to me. Connecting the dots, and especially with your research and how much you have read, the correlations that you've had. Going back with you seeing the UFO, the girl next to you didn't. Again, that was verified or validated your experience within that research, where before you might have all kind of dismissed it of, yes, it stayed with me, but did I see anything? Did I, like questioning yourself and second guessing yourself?
Always. So it's all,
for years.
So
It's almost like your again, it's another synchronicity. The books that you're picking up, the things that you're being drawn to, is those are the ones that are giving you this validation, or this no, this happened, dude, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like that. It's like you're on the right path. We're leading you to the knowledge that you need.
yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
I think, the phenomenon, whatever it may well be, I'm not saying, ET from down the road is kind of going, hey, Rich, come here, I'm going to give you some extra information. It's making me work for it. It's not downloading. People who have information dumps of star systems put into their brain. They've not done that to me. They've just left me to it and get on with it, sort of.
But that's part of your journey, and they may, the stuff that people get the downloads are part of their journey. We're all on an individual learning thing. I think this is what we're here to experience 100%. as consciousness having a physical experience.
I think consciousness needs to kind of learn, and I think kind of be investigating that. And for me, it was investigating myself, which is a strange thing to kind of find yourself doing. But
but you end up doing it.
And it's a costly business because it gets me down further books to read.
But it's also an expansion business, because you're expanding your consciousness and mind and your perception of consensus reality, which is ever expanding.
Yeah. What does it all have to do with UFOs? Don't know. Are UFOs you've probably interviewed lots of people, and you're going to have those folks who are stuck in the mud, kind of nuts and boltsers. What's the kind of general consensus from that kind of crowd? What's going on? Is there an easy answer?
No.
Well, no, there's not. There's questions.
I know a few. Well, I probably count on one hand that it's very nuts and bolts. You probably know. If I said the names as to these people were, you'd know who they are. I'm not going to say it on here, but they're quite open about, I think it's nuts and bolts. But then you've got
I think it's more metaphysical and conscious
people that think it's ultra-dimensional, interdimensional.
Yeah.
Then you've got others that think it's not coming from elsewhere. It's our own stuff. We just high-end tech with what we're creating right now. Then you've got the organic version of these UFOs have some sort of I suppose
sentient organic type of craft.
I'll go flesh and blood. And then you've got the ones where they are a bit of everything, but they've got their own consciousness as well. You've got you've got manned, you've got unmanned, you've got ones shapeshift. Orbs.
So you're basically going into the cryptid world as well, because that's exactly
you're going everywhere.
Because are you flesh and blood, or are you something that's a bit more interdimensional and all the rest of it?
You both, but you can be one in one dimension and another in a different dimension, because that's how the physics works in each different realm.
Also, as well, what is it projecting to you in your consciousness? Like we were talking to Steve Mira and the quintessential archetypes where people having a religious experiences. What's to say that's not a religious experience, but actually these entities, these consciousness, these beings, whatever they are, flesh, blood, interdimensional, eating Jaffa cakes, who knows?
Well, they know what your thought process
precisely.
is, so they show you what you believe in.
What you equate,
If I'd seen the Battlestar Galactica or something like that in 1980, I wouldn't have believed it, and therefore that would have been the end of it, as far as I was concerned. I was like tripping out imagining spaceships, or that would have been a funny tale to go and tell people, but it wasn't.
But I've seen
the shape.
I've seen the nuts
in the
and bolts
consciousness
one.
of the time.
I've seen nuts and bolts one. I've seen plasma ones. I've seen ones that the sky's opened up and they've flown through it. I've seen metal orbs. I've seen light orbs of pyramid type, and I don't know what the hell I'm looking at.
Cigar shapes, all sorts. You name it, you've seen it. But you don't see the UFO like flying saucer. You don't get that reported enough.
That's weird. And that's why I was an odd thing. And a daytime encounter as well. It wasn't. I didn't see any lights on the thing because it was daytime. It was gunmetal. It was like
all mine have been during the day.
Yeah.
I've never seen light, unless it's been a light at night and it's just a light.
Yeah.
I know it's not a plane. I don't know what it was because we could just see the light.
Yeah.
But any like what Richard just said, they've been during the day.
Yeah.
Early morning, mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
Very rare at night.
Have you
see,
ever tried that CE5
mix.
concept, CE5
Yes.
process? That's Stephen Greer. I know he's a bit controversial to some.
I didn't realise it was a thing. It was just something that happened to me. I could,
I've got the book.
You didn't spend loads of money on a special chair or anything like that. You just did it.
No, I only learnt the term last year, and I was like, "That's what I do. That's it."
Yeah,
It's got a name, patent and all sorts of things.
I
People
got the
charge
book.
thousands for it.
Peter Slattery, is it? I can't see the book from where. Yeah, it's Peter Slattery that wrote it. It's like basically how to CE5. And we was down at a castle in Essex near Southend.
You were with Viv, weren't you?
Yeah, and David Young and a few others. That's one of the images of something we got.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's right over the Thames estuary, and we're looking towards Kent. And this is all different photos of the same image, but this is the clearest one.
It's almost like it's morphing.
Yeah.
Well, the best bit about that was I was just about to take the last photo, and it went, "Nah, you've done." It blinked twice, gone. And there was nothing there. You could clearly see there was nothing. There's no trees, there's no cloud cover. It was a clear night. The moon was out. You could see stars, see trains, boats, planes, everything. Everything was clear as day. And it just went, it went, bye-bye.
You see, this is why I think there's a consciousness element to this phenomenon as well, because as I said, I didn't even know what CE5. I only learned the term last year, and I think it was from people like you, Andy. And I was like, oh yeah, see, you know, the amount of times I've like meditated or just gone into an altered state of consciousness. And this is where I think, as I say, there's a communication to it, a consciousness, because it's almost like they sense you, you sense them, and then there is that interaction, whether it be visual, whether it be auditory, whether it be just a feeling, or you know. But it's always been with witnesses and things like that. And when it hasn't been with witnesses, I'm to when snap out of it, go and film.
Here's a question for you then. So a lot of people have bad experiences. Some have good experiences. I've never had a bad one. Could that be due to how the person's feeling or thinking at the time that creates what experience that they have?
Manifestation.
I don't mean I mean subconsciously. If they're having trauma and all that that's going on, could it be that that's why they have a negative encounter? Whereas when they're having stuff good in their life at that moment and they have an encounter, does that give the positive experience?
Well, as you know yourself, Richard, with studying magic, it's all about intent. And unfortunately, it all comes from your subconscious and central nervous system. So if you've got muddy water going on in there, like attracts like, what you put out, you're going to get back.
Yeah, it's like what you send out to the universe, that's what you get back, regardless of whether negative or positive. You get what you give.
Yeah, I find it interesting with the nuts and bolts crowd, not necessarily the nuts and bolts, but when I say, for example, read like Lou Elizondo, I find it really fascinating because he's of similar age to me, but he's a very different person. And the great thing about a book is I can put myself in his shoes through the nature of that book. And I am the least military person going. I'll be honest. I'm a tree hugger. I don't mind. I love the world and the planet, and that's kind of my approach to it. And as a result, I don't see them as a threat. I see them as something positive. But if my worldview was, oh, it's a threat, it's going to be attacking me. If that's how I go through the world, then that's how I'm going to see it. Unfortunately, that's going to be how they see people as well as, I mean, I'm categorizing, generalizing. But with that kind of mindset, you are going to go through that world with a certain amount of blinkers on. You've got to open up a little bit, but obviously not so much that you're a sieve. It's kind of
discernment.
Positiveness, I think, is a very important thing. I myself am very comfortable in my own skin at this point in my life, whereas there has been times when I have not necessarily been. And how would have my interaction with the phenomenon have been if that had occurred then?
Yeah.
What would be my takeaway? So a positive attitude, especially this day and age, is quite to have.
You kind of need it to navigate the world at the minute, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think we all have to set our examples. Everyone's talked about disclosure of late. We didn't really touch upon disclosure day that recently, but also on the same day we had Stephen Greer doing a presentation as well, and both of those really need to be dissected, because what Stephen Greer kind of touched upon was this idea that all the craft we're seeing are like Lockheed Martin skunk work stuff. And nobody's talking about that. They're talking about the files that have been released through war. So it's it's an interesting time we find ourselves in.
Yeah. Well, you saying that we had Jim Goodall on Friday, who did work for. He didn't work at Skunk Works, but he did work for Skunk Works. He works on the Blackbird, and I asked him the question about that. He didn't really give me a direct answer, but
of course,
he didn't say, because he didn't work. He wasn't in the grounds, but he did go to different areas around the US, including Area 51. And he didn't realise till about 20 years ago that he was actually working in Area 51 back in the day.
Yeah.
So that kind of like
sign out
him off a bit.
No.
And it's just little things like that you don't realise till later on in life as to what's actually going on. So for him to know, like when he was working on the Blackbird, that was like, it come out like 20, 30 years later. He said he's working on stuff there in the 60s and 70s that are only just coming out now.
Yeah.
Stuff like, so.
Well, you look at the Germans that Die Glock they were working on, and then that showed up in Philadelphia apparently 20 years later.
There's lots of stuff.
In 1980, so I don't necessarily think there's going to be some secret underground lair under Fatfield in an old mine, but
who knows? So with UAPedia, what have you guys been doing with the disclosure dump that's just happened?
Oh, there's a lot to take on board. We've been dissecting it as well as writing our usual articles. At the moment, we've had to download all 180 odd files and then start stitching them together. But we've got, because with UAPedia.ai, we use AI, but we run it through various checks and measures, and we also have a separate fact checking system as well. And then there's the human intervention that comes along. So I'm one of those humans, and scrutinize everything, argue with AI where it doesn't get things right, and so on and so forth. So we've just literally been going through all the various documents, and I'm just in this process of stitching together a lot of documentation. So
because they're very fragmented, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of documents which show the videos, and there's a lot of separate PDFs. And so you have to stitch them both together. So you've got to find the PDF to match the description. And that's not always so easy. So I'm currently just doing that at the moment. And then running articles, or running these kind of responses through our AI system to say, what have you identified which is new, which is old, which has kind of been out there a long time. And we run it through our taxonomy system, which is a vital part of the work that we do, because we ensure that the work is, everything's verified. So we've got a verified taxonomy section. We've got a section for what's possible or probable. And then we've got the disputed areas as well we look into. So we don't hide away from any of those. Stuff that's legend, misidentification, and also hoax potential as well. So everything's run through all of these checks to see what information's come out. And so far, the information I've looked at that's of real interest is the FBI files from the late 40s. That's given me extra information, or giving us extra information, which will update our current historical articles around Project Blue Book and Branch and things like that. So when we discover new information, we'll then go through and update any pertinent articles. But for now, we've got two major articles, one which looks at the videos and the PDFs, and the other, videos and photos, and then there's another one which has done an initial deep dive into what we've got. Watch the space for new articles coming out about it. I do recommend UAPedia.ai, not because I work there, because it's really good, but there'll be a wealth of information coming out there because this is tranche 1. There'll be more stuff coming out in the coming months, and I think it's up to all of us to kind of look at it. A lot of people can run things through AI, but I think it's worth also reading things through properly as well. You know, on my own laptop, I've got everything downloaded so I can go through it. And then I can also check it against the AI system as well. So you never know what you're going to get.
The AI is a tool to help you work, not something to be solely relied on, because it's not reliable.
Exactly. No,
it's not reliable.
I have arguments with it on a daily, so don't worry.
It's a people pleasing. It's meant to be people pleasing. It's meant to give you what you want. So you always need to double.
You'd think if you're paying for it, it doesn't.
No, you check and check again. That's the rule with AI. You always have to fact check it, and everything we do with UAPedia.ai is fact check. It won't get published unless it's gone through everything, which is really cool. Hello, Kitty.
Yeah. It's my little crypto.
Right. So we're near the end of the show. We've only got a few minutes left, but we do have some questions for you.
We do.
So I'm not going to do them in any order. This is more of a statement than a question, but this is from someone called Paul M82. I'm guessing it's somebody that knows you very well because he's put, no bow tie, Richard. I'm disappointed.
Oh,
yes, that's a good point. Where's the bow tie, dude?
I don't know. I'm eccentric enough as it is. I was going to put the bow tie on, but I thought, how far did that go? I was also toying with the idea of dressing like a Men in Black, but you know.
Well, to be fair, you did look quite fetching in your tuxedo in February, so yeah.
Yeah, it's not everyone who kind of insists I turn up to a black tie event. And
I know.
We did.
We did. We made the effort.
It was lovely. However, send the bill to Mr. Barnett for a new suit.
It was great to meet you there because obviously that was the first time we'd met, and we've been friends on Facebook and socials for quite a while. And I think it was a mustache that I clocked you before anybody else when I got there.
Yeah, the mustache comes on those, but
yeah.
I'll go for the English eccentric, especially at UAPCon. Mustache and Jaffa.
It does look good. I'm just jealous.
Any other questions?
So this is from Tets, and he's put, Richard, after I distracted an orb with my laser pen, it turned into a manta ray with orbs in its tail, and it went into a cloud and it lit up with electric.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't be surprised. John Keel did a very low-tech version of this back in the 60s. He started off using a torch just to do like Morse code. And he made it complicated. He was like Morse coding, saying hello and stuff. And if you want to be old school, look up Morse code and try it. But he discovered over time, you didn't even need to bother. Like you mentioned, Abby, you're sitting there and you're calling things down. There's a CE5 protocol for that. And you get comfy chairs and blankets and all that good stuff. But you can do it for free.
Comfy chairs and blankets? I've just sat on the floor and grounded. There's comfy chairs and blankets. You mean I've been doing it the hard way?
Exactly. There's comfy chairs and blankets. But you can do it yourself. So, the torch method worked. And John Keel, after a while, discovered that you can do the same thing and call things down just by saying, come on down.
Come on down.
That was literally what we did at Hadley Castle. There's 7 of us, and we just like
do it in a group.
Tried to manifest to someone to turn up. We got bored because nothing was happening. We started doing something else, and then we seen this light. We'd forgot we'd done a CE5, and then it's like, oh, that's what it was.
I've so very rarely known it to be instantaneous. It normally it can take about
we've done it where it's
5 to 10
within
minutes, but
30 seconds we've seen something. It might have just been
confirmation bias.
I don't believe in coincidence. It's just synchronicity. It's like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's not a coincidence. Yeah. So it's synchronicity.
Did you ask a question? Because a magic background always kind of makes me slightly hesitant about calling things down that I don't necessarily know. Did you kind of invoke any protections or anything like that, or am I just going too far?
I don't tend to do anything like that. It's like if something's going to turn up, it's like when I used to go out ghost hunting. If something's going to turn up, whether you have protection or not, you're gonna. If it's going to do something bad to you, it's going to do something bad to you regardless. But that's just my take on it. But if you go there with a positive attitude, I'm not going saying like, come on, show me what you are. I don't believe you, this, that, and the other. I'm not. That's negativity straight away, and you're provoking it. But if you go in there and it's the same, and I'm going to go back to the meditation. When you meditate, you have to have clear, positive thoughts,
attention and intention, basically.
Yeah, they've got to be you've got to know what it is you want and what you're doing. So so when you do the CE5, the same again.
Your attitude is positive, and therefore your interaction is going to be positive rather than somebody expecting.
It's clean, it's clear. Down, you've got the clarity of exactly what you want. Because it's like when you say with karma, what you're putting out there, you want that back. So if you're going to be shitty towards it, expect that back 10 times. Tenfold. So yeah.
Don't
do it. Yeah.
That's interesting. Thank you.
So
me, when I'm out investigating with Haunted Devon, we always open and close. Matter of spiritual safety. So
do that.
There's always no.
Thank you.
So,
please and thank you.
Open the circle, close the circle. We don't want anything going back with our members. As you know, Richard, it can happen. But when it comes to, as I say, C5, the first one was in Wiltshire back in 2012. And I was meditating in a crop circle, and I opened up and I just basically said, I'm open to this experience. Show me what I need to learn. Show me what I need to understand. And I gave my pure intentions. I put healing into the ground, so I was giving back. I'm not here just here to take. I'd not long done my Reiki 1, so I put that energy into the ground. And it all kind of went a bit mad after that. Be careful what you wish for.
So with the UFO side now, I do a give and take. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it's like, look, if you can just show me something, then I can give. And then and it's on a conscious level, not a physical level. So
okay,
I find it's an exchange of feeling, basically. You're projecting that. I project from the heart. I don't do it from the solar plexus. I do
it's from there. Straight from there. You start off there, but then you kind of like work through the body, through different parts of your body.
Like, the energy system.
That's what you do. Yeah. So,
I'll get myself out of the house and do some more rather than just stuck with stuff.
And I tell you, when you come back, you feel it. It comes back, and it is that.
Yeah, you get it.
It's like
it's that big. It's like if you have a kind of energy drink or caffeine, coffee, and it kicks in. It's that.
On a cosmic level,
cosmic caffeine, we'll call it.
I'd say it's on. I mean, as you know, different frequencies, different emotions hit different, more DNA points on your body. You know, I think it was a fractal mind theory that went into that, and you feel it as almost if it's like a pure love feeling. It's like a universal, not a human love, but like a universe. But you feel that frequency back.
I've had that feeling at Rendlesham. Me and Tim went, and a few of us that went was doing an evening session there, and we got there early, so I thought I'll show Tim around the bits that I know and some of the bits that I didn't know. And I just got this euphoric feeling. I was like a madman. I was walking around laughing. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm laughing at, like proper giddy sort of thing. And it's like, I don't know. It's just a really, really good positive energy out at the moment.
It can be intense.
And it lasted about 10 minutes.
Which can unnerve you with the stuff happening around you. But I think my negative experiences within a UFO experience hasn't been the actual phenomena itself. It's been the humans. It's been
the wrong people.
What that's attracted within. Oh, what are you doing? We've picked up on this. Now we're going to come and look at you. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Then you jump.
So what was the other question? Oh, hello. This is from the Jolly Man. That's a good one. Bye.
What's that?
Hi back.
Where am I looking?
Do you want me to pop it up?
Yeah, please.
There we go.
Yes, we spoke about this the other week.
Yes.
Orbs have been seen while crop circles are created. It's a message to us, but our governments hide it.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
Yes, they do.
Crop circles and orbs are very common, and
Very, very common.
very common indeed. And yeah, people see orbs, and lo and behold, shortly thereafter, there comes a crop circle.
Crop circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't
Silbury
see them
Hill.
mooching around
13.
with a bit of string and a board, so they do pretty good work. I don't find it
Yeah.
fascinating.
I tell you. Oh, sorry.
It's
Go
funny
on.
how
Richard.
the Rockefellers acquired most of the land in Wiltshire, isn't it?
Is it? Oh, I didn't know
Oh.
that. There you go. There you go.
Well, I was just going to say,
People
so
starts buying it, then we've got something to worry about.
some of the darker side of encounters that I've had was when I initially damaged my back. So I was struggling. I was out of work for like 18 months, and struggling to get about and all that kind of stuff. I was seeing shadow people, full body apparitions. When I seen the UFOs outside the back, I got a really horrible, bad feeling that they was watching me. And that was the same time when I pulled what I believe to be an implant out of the top of my nose.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I can talk to you about on a one-to-one if you want, Richard, about that, because it's very
disturbing.
Intense. Yes.
Disturbing.
And then there's other stuff, and but once I got out of that environment, it all stopped. I've seen the odd little thing here and there, but I don't think it was as on a negative scale as to what the others. There's literally growling outside the bedroom window, the window that opens like that, and I still believe that if I'd have stuck my arm out or my head out to see what it was, I wouldn't be here now telling the story.
No, there's more than one of these type of things. If they are, it's not just one thing, but it also could be
vibrational,
same side, same coin.
That's what I'm thinking.
An interesting comic book of mine is a favorite comic book of mine is The Invisibles by Grant Morrison. I'm not going to go into it too much, but essentially it's a tale of like this gang who are trying to beat these archons, these archetypes from another dimension. But the ultimate story is they're both sides of the same thing, and it's all about love and unity, and that comes into the very end. But that's what it's all about, and so a projection of good or evil isn't necessarily the same opposite things, but they are part and parcel of the same level. I think we need yin and yang to balance, maybe.
You can't have light without the dark, you can't have dark without the light.
I think the negative stuff is something, whether I was projecting or picking up on it, because I was at a negative point in my life, but now I'm at the positive side, I'm still getting stuff. I think it's from the same thing, but it's on a higher vibration.
Well, you look, my mum astral travels and she goes to some amazing places. And after she had an accident and they had her on some pretty hardcore controlled drugs, she used to go to the most horriblest places ever. And she used to hate it. So I think, to be honest with you as well, what you're putting in your system as well, what you were using to cope with your back can actually affect your frequency and actually affect that experience as well. Like, they I use the word demonic loosely, but people who have, quote unquote demonic experiences, you often find that there's a history of addiction and substance abuse and things like that, lower vibrational things that are dragging you down. So maybe some of those medications that you were on with your back that were lowering your frequency to the point you were at a low point anyway, mentally and emotionally, because of it, and that actually helped facilitate the more darker experiences.
But this is where it goes back to intent. Were you saying about demonic and addiction, spirit and spirit as in spirit, drinking, and spirit as in?
Well, that's where it comes from, because libations were used to crack that wall open in your brain, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's all to
same with psychedelics these days. So I've been told.
Yeah. So there's a lot.
Allegedly.
Apparently.
I'll just stick to my lumens.
I will find out. All I'm going to
And
say is I will find out one day, and there will be a video to follow. It won't be live. That's all I'm going to tell you.
All I can say is, have you heard of the Gateway experience from the Monroe Institute? Richard?
Yeah, I've been reading up on that again of late. It's another avenue I've been playing.
It is. If you want the audio to it, let me know, because I've got the files.
Oh, have you? Oh, fantastic. Yes, please. Send them my way. That would be really interesting.
And can you send them to me? I did have them. I think it was Chris Meek that sent them me from Scottish Paranormal. Is it 8 files in total or something?
there's 20 odd in total. There's units. So unit 1 is
Yeah,
all
you've
about
got different levels.
you got different
Yeah.
levels, and there's about there's
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's 8 different sections, and there's loads of
yes, and
different. Yeah.
there's about 5 or 6
Yeah.
files per section, and you master one
Yeah,
before
yeah.
you go on to the other.
Yeah. You can't just jump from one to the next because it
No.
doesn't make any sense, and your
No.
mind and body can't.
Yeah.
get
First
to
one's
grips with it.
hemisync, where your hemisphere, your women can do this.
You're left and
No
you're right.
offense, guys. Women can do this a little bit better than
Yes,
men
they
anyway,
can.
because it's how our brains work. But the first one is the hemisync, which is getting you to unify the right and left hemispheres and get them working together in correlation.
Beautiful. And once you do that, you open up all sorts of interesting doors of possibility.
Oh, you do, and the synchronicities that follow and the
rounds.
focus that you have is razor sharp.
This is it. You could actually be contacting your inner daimon, your inner imaginary friend. I'd be interested to see if I can pick up any remnants of Nicholas in my childhood.
There we go. If Louise makes a return, I shall be. I'll let you know.
So you say, talking about imaginary friends, because I was thinking about what you said earlier. Like as kids, normally, like pre-toddler age, like up to around the age of about 5 or 6. Why do we not get them as an adult?
I don't. Well, our brains have filtered out. Mine was. I had mine till I was 4, which is like 6 months after the birth of my little brother. And when you're 4, you start getting that social conditioning in place. You're up to a certain point as a child when you're learning things.
Innocence in it.
You don't necessarily have that full understanding of language, so you're kind of playing around with symbols and textures and all that kind of thing rather than words, and then later on you become more formulated in that notion of word, and that the language becomes more of a dominant feature rather than the non-dominant side of the brain which deals in symbols, which is interesting. If you look at Carl Jung's book on flying saucers, it's all about symbols and kind of interactions with the brain, because you always need a UFO encounter, needs somebody to see it. It doesn't just happen independently, and so we don't see these things by accident. Well, at least on the hope, unless of course they're Lockheed Martin ones, and then we shouldn't be seeing.
You're doing into the twin slit experiment there. Particles are particles when you're observing them, but when you're not, they're a waveform. So are they there because we're observing them?
They needed us to see it.
I was reading something else about that as well. So even inanimate objects react different when they're being watched.
Yes, everything does.
But there's something else, I can't remember where it was on, even the spirit world as well. So if you do the double slit and you're on a ghost hunt or paranormal adventure, whatever you call them, they react different as to what they would as a stone tape theory. That's another thing that people have started going down.
Well, the stone tape theory needs a catalyst to kick it off, as we talk about in my upcoming show on Pembroke Voice.
But the more this stone tape theory goes off, the more you do it. It's like you find out like the pattern to it. You can then, there's a thing where apparently you can then go into it and interact with it, and it stops becoming a stone tape theory because it becomes a conscious effect.
Again, we go into that.
Right.
That's a whole other conversation.
All that's new to me. So
yeah,
it's just a matter of looking at the other.
I can't say too much because it's a bit of an exclusive.
I
one,
like to explain.
It started off as something that was stone tape, but then interacted with somebody. So who acknowledged it. So yeah. I love the fake snow theory. Is this a snow that burns? Is this the snow that turns black when you put a lighter to it? Then that's weird snow.
There's loads of different ones.
Yeah.
But it's just
with stone tape, I find it quite fascinating because you may be familiar with Patrick Jackson's work on orbs and various things. Yeah. He's got an interesting take on stone tape, which is interesting. Yeah. How the actual any poltergeist activity is part and parcel to do with the actual phenomenon, the UAP phenomenon.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's definitely. I mean, if you look at Anne Andrews' book, My Indigo Child with her son Jason, and look at Mike Orham's. I don't know if Mike Orham's still with it. I hope so, bless him. I've interviewed him a few times. I've not heard from him in years, so I hope he's still with us. But yeah, there was very much an interaction with the poltergeist case there, especially with Jason and the things that used to happen. If you can track down a copy of the book My Indigo Child, Anne Andrews and Mike Orham's. Oh God, I should know this. I've got the book. I'll find it for you, Richard. I've got the book somewhere. It's got tulipy type people at the beginning. Oh, my ex-co-host retired. He's going to literally fillet me for not remembering the name of that.
Do I have to gong you because you can't remember?
Yes, you're going to have to gong me. For Martin's sake, you're going to have to gong me.
Shall I? There we go.
Does it rain?
Ready?
Does it rain in other dimensions? I remember it.
Too late, he was gonged.
And I think we've got one last question, haven't we?
Go on.
Have we? I've not seen any more come through because.
Hello, Mum. Right. Hi.
Yeah. 7 hours after the orb went over me, the FFA grounded all flights in the US. No one could take off, and all of the planes had to land.
Wow. Which airport that was and when that occurred. But interesting stuff. Have you got any photos? Anything like that?
When did that question come through?
Yeah, I've just seen it here. It came out at 7:56. It's not on the live. It's on the start.
That's from like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Answering somebody's question.
Why?
2 weeks ago.
How have you got?
It's time loop. That's what happened. You've ended up going.
I've cleared everything off the card, so I don't get why it's still there.
I don't know.
It was meant to be. That was the point. It was always meant
not
to
got a clue.
be. If you go down Eric Wargo's time loops, it's always meant to be.
I think I'm in a time loop now. Well, thank you so much, Richard, for coming on. But we definitely need to get you back on.
Yeah.
And more so because of my interest in Aleister Crowley. If you could come on and talk about him, that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, with or without robes. I can do either.
Yeah.
Should we all come on robes?
We could do
robes.
Yeah. We'd end up scaring them.
I don't know if my polar bear dressing gown would actually give the right.
If you're a chaos magic, if you're a practitioner of chaos magic, anything can be a robe. There you go with your intent.
Just squint like that, you'll be fine.
Fantastic.
Very interesting history down here with Aleister. I agree, Richard.
We'll talk about this another time. Thank you very much for having me on. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
If anybody wants to check me out, you can find me on Substack at Cartography of Weird. I could have made it an easier title, but I'm not that kind of person. Or you can just look me up, Richard Monck, Monck, because there isn't many of me. But if you do find me on Facebook, be warned, you do get the occasional bits of my home bakery as well as UFO.
Why do you think this one had me read out the bio? Because it was a tongue twister. Like, exactly. Yeah, you can do it, Abby. I was like, hang on,
you can read it well, but try saying it out loud.
Yeah.
But I just want to apologise to Richard for it taking me so long to get him on the show.
Yes.
I do apologise.
No problem at all. The time is perfect. Thank you very much.
Everything's happening when it's meant to happen, as you
exactly.
Yes. But when you get people's names in your head and you write them down, it's like, I need to contact this person. And the list just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it's like, I need to start doing the list again.
It's nice to be on some positive list rather than a negative list.
Well, I tell you what, as we're both hailing from Devon, Richard, the next time we go on a Skywatch, I shall let you know, and you'll have to come along.
Please do. Yeah. I haven't got a posh chair. I'll just bring a blanket. I'm old school. But you can get the posh blanket.
Put your robe. Put your robe on. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just put my coat on the floor. That's it. And sit on my coat. I'm not precious.
Just buy one of those.
Tougher in this country, I think, sometimes.
Just buy a fold-up chair from a fuel station.
Well, then you got to carry it everywhere. That's what rocks are for. That's what the ground's for, man.
No, you get one of those lightweight ones. It probably lasts you like 3 hours, and then it collapses.
Connect to the earth.
Take it back to the car. Bless.
Yeah.
As we pick up our rubbish after us. Right.
Yes. And that
Thank you very much.
Everything. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Abby, for coming on. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you to the tier members, subscribers, everybody. Really do appreciate it. these are the new prices for the membership. Starts at $2.99 all the way up to $89.99. So if you're feeling a bit flush, you know where we are. So that's that. And if you want to buy any merch, you can go to Alienate UK dash shop.fourthwall.com. Couldn't speak then, couldn't read. So going across the top, just have a look at it on there.
I would recommend your key ring. It's very nice. Thank you very much. But I got a free
one.
Yeah.
Buy
them from the shop.
Yes. I've only got 4 left. They're all up here. 5. I've got one in the car. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. I can't find the actual headset because it's in the other room charging. I just remembered, but it is the Nova Luminate.
Oh, okay. The modern version of the Dream Machine.
Yes,
which
pretty much. Yeah.
On a time with a light bulb, some cardboard, and a record player. But there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you strap it on and it does it for you.
There you go. Alienate UK embroidered. Do you know, since I got this, I've had to pay full whack as well. So
you have.
I don't think you can get it any cheaper. I only take it off for bed, wear it at work, everywhere. It's so comfy. It's great. Honestly, it really is. So appreciate anyone buying any merch. There is. Shelley asked about having a. Yeah, you can. There you go. You can get a vest top now that's got the logo. So it says Alienate UK, the logo, and then the UFO files on the front and the back. I'm going to do some more variations of them. So
yeah, we didn't know when you said tank top whether you meant a vest top or a tank. In the UK,
a tank top was a knitted top. No, it was a tank top that I wore in the 70s that my mum used to knit me and my brother. So
beautiful.
This is a top with no sleeves.
Yes.
Jumper with no sleeves, yeah.
So that's it. I'm going to play the new outro for the 24-hour stream that we're doing on July the 18th. It's starting at 10 a.m. on Saturday, going all the way through to 10 a.m. on the Sunday.
Yes.
Cannot wait. I think it's going to be my last one because I'm getting too old for sitting here for 24 hours. It kills you back. So that's it. We are done. Thank you again, Richard. Thank you, Abby, everybody else. Thank you for your questions. And hopefully we'll get you back on very, very soon.
Yeah.
With who knows what I'll find out next time I'm on. There you go. I've been strapped down and taken to goodness knows where. There you go. Maybe I'll be coming back and telling you of the Space Brothers and all that sort of stuff from behind Venus.
Well, I'll tell you what, for a Monday evening, you couldn't wish for anything best, can you really?
There you go. So that or EastEnders. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely not that. Right, so that's it. Have a wonderful 2 days. I'll be back on Wednesday with myself, Nicole and David, where we do 48 hours into what's trending into the internet and social media with Reality Check. And then we're back again on Friday, where we're going to be joined by Jan Han. So that's all part of the UFO files as well. So until then, have a wonderful 2 days, and we'll see you very, very soon. So take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
UFO files on the line, stacking up the facts in time. Guests keep coming through the door. One more story, then 10 more. Maps and clips on every page. Something strange in every age. Call it in, let it ring. Tell us what you saw, tell us everything. Alienate, keep it live.
Strange, they fight over colors, and they cover their bodies with plants and animals. They fear the unknown but seek it out. They destroy their own world for shiny rocks. Fascinating.
Let it spin. us, watch us all, tell us everything. Alienate, keep it live. UFO files, all night. Alienate, stay tuned in. I want the truth. Let it spin. Midnight turns to morning rain. Still we circle back again. One more guest, one more name. Same bright signal, different frame. Alienate, keep it live. UFO files, all night. Alienate, stay tuned in. I want the truth. Let it spin. 10 a.m., 18th of July, 2026. Alienate UK. Goes live for 24 hours with the UFO files.
Pattern recognition complete. Aether 8 online. Proceed.